Tom, let's get into it. What is the latest on the Ezekiel Elliott case? We already know it's not good news.
Yeah, it's not good news at all, Brett, and he's going to serve a 6-game suspension. Like, that's what's going to happen here. Zeke has still filed for another emergency appeal. The odds of that happening are minuscule. I don't foresee it coming because it's still all within the Second Circuit Court right now. I'd say there's a chance, but it's kind of very much like you're saying there's a chance. There's really not a chance at all.
All right,
Zeke's going to serve that suspension.
Let's break it down. Ezekiel Elliott's six-game suspension is once again on after the NFL got a favorable ruling removing his temporary restraining order. New York court rejected Elliott's request for an injunction. His team and the NFLPA has now filed another appeal, which in a sense is an emergency appeal, but it's not going to factor in for this week. He's probably, at this point, it is 90% likely he will not play against the Kansas City Chiefs.
I'm willing to say 99%. Like, there's a chance, but it's minuscule. And then with the decision itself from the New York court, it came as a shock to everyone. Zeke's team thought they had it. The NFL thought Zeke had it. Like, they thought that they were going to do the whole Tom Brady thing again. So for the judge to make that decision was a true shocker. I mean, Zeke's team had him waiting outside the courthouse. They thought it was going to be a half-hour wait. They had already booked a flight back to Dallas so he could go join the team. He missed the flight because it took them hours to do it, and then they didn't get the decision that they wanted.
The decision
Zeke's
came out.
team was stunned.
The decision came out around 10 o'clock Eastern time as well. Harris broke it down for us right here on this page. If you don't already, make sure you like Dallas Cowboys by Chat Sports.
Yes.
You get all of this news as soon as it happens. We're live all the time talking Dallas Cowboys football. Tom, there is a little bit of a developing story that is going alongside of this that in a way I think gives Cowboys fans, Zeke's team, and even the NFLPA some fodder, in a sense, to whether or not Zeke will get his side of the story back on the plus side here. And that is that the judge's husband works for a law firm that worked with the NFL on the latest collective bargaining agreement. I'm not going to say there's a conflict of interest, Tom, because I don't know about stuff like that. I'm not saying it either.
Well, it doesn't really matter whether or not there is a conflict of interest. It matters if there's the appearance of one or the indication that there could be one. The entire point of that is to avoid it. So the judge should have recused herself in this case because fair or not, she is financially tied to her husband. That's how marriages work. And her husband is financially tied to the NFL because of his law firm's work.
You would know because you recently got married.
I did not get. Oh my God! Again with this. I really thought we'd gotten past that. Anyway, but she should have recused herself, and it allows the conspiracy theories of there's a handful of judges or people in the court with the last name Falia. The NFL managed to find 2 of them.
Yeah. So the judge, Catherine Polk Falia. Her husband works for Proskauer Rose, who wasn't actually representing the NFL in the Ezekiel Elliott case, but a prominent Proskauer Rose attorney was heavily involved in the negotiation of the labor deal that ultimately is at issue with the Elliott case. Tom, tell me about this AKA Lockout Bob guy.
So he was kind of the main guy behind the NFL and the NFL CBA, the guy that was very much involved in making sure that there was a lockout.
Bob Batterman.
Bob Batterman. It's a great name, though.
Yeah.
Bob Batterman. And I think we're going to see him again, by the way, Brett. Because with this decision, and this is something that has beyond ramifications for just Ezekiel Elliott, for Zeke, it was all about clearing his name. Because fair or not, the view now is that, he was convicted of domestic assault. Like, that's how it's going to be viewed from the general public's perspective. But for the NFL and the NFLPA, this was a fight over the CBA again, trying to get it changed. When we get to 2019, 2020, 2021, that range, I think you're going to have a work stoppage. You're going to have a lockout. Because the NFLPA, they are furious right now. They are not happy campers.
Yeah, and this is... No, it's as simple as that. I don't even know how,
it's going to be bad.
How to respond back. The NFLPA and the NFL are set up for a fight related specifically to this and the judge, jury, and executioner powers of Roger Goodell. All right, so Ezekiel Elliott set to miss 6 games. Let's take a look at the Cowboys' schedule. That's going to include games this week against the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll get to that preview here in just a moment. At the Atlanta Falcons, interdivision rivalry against the Philadelphia Eagles, the #1 team in the NFC. Thanksgiving Day against the Los Angeles Chargers, and then another game against the Redskins and at New York. So 3 divisional games that Zeke could be missing, plus a game against the defending NFC champions, plus a game against one of the top teams in the AFC. Cowboys could look at potentially a 1-5 swing. This is a very key part of the Cowboys' schedule, and they're not going to have their best running back to be a part of it.
Purely from a football perspective, the first 6 weeks of the year would have been the time to miss Zeke. But it was never about when it was the right suspension.
No,
it was all about trying to clear his name.
Yeah, and so the Cowboys are sitting there. This is what it is at this point. Let's take a look now at how they're going to replace him and what life without Ezekiel Elliott is going to look like for these next 6 weeks. Again, assuming that something doesn't happen and he only ends up missing one game.
This is what's going to happen going forward.
I think that's a fair assumption. We'll start with Alfred Morris. He is getting the first team work in practice this week. Tom, Morris just hasn't done anything as a Cowboy for 2 years now.
But Brett, look at this season's stats. 13 carries for 105 yards. That's really good.
Tom, we're going to play the game. We're going to play the game. Let's make it 12 carries for 35 yards.
Yeah, okay, that makes more sense.
So,
yeah, and frankly, Morris should have scored. He got caught from behind.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that you look at the yards per carry and go, oh, Alfred Morris has done good things here. Like, that's impressive. Well, look, he had one long run. He hasn't done a whole lot outside of that. I think the Cowboys are going to turn to Alfred Morris because he fits better what they want to do, and that is the zone running scheme. So I'm not saying I like it, but I fully expect Alfred Morris to at least get the first crack at carries. Now, if he struggles, I don't think the Cowboys will have him on a short leash.
Look, here's how I'm going to compare it. Tony Romo went down. Matt Castle was your quarterback. This is how I'm going to compare it.
I don't want to remember that.
You've got veterans in the backfield as your backup, third string, inactive, fourth string Darren McFadden, but that doesn't mean that they're going to do that much for you.
And the good news is the offensive line has looked better lately.
That's true.
A big factor.
Here's what I'm actually most interested in seeing, and that's how much Rod Smith gets involved. I like Rod Smith.
I do too.
And I feel like he could be more productive than Alfred or Darren McFadden, especially on third downs, but maybe even in general.
Well, Alfred Morris is not a third down back. I think Alfred Morris is going to be your first and second down guy. I think third down, I think there's a good chance it is Rod Smith because remember, he can block. That's important on third down, especially without Zeke, when you're probably going to have to throw it a bunch on third downs. You're probably going to have a bunch of 3rd and 6s. So you can bring in Rod Smith, have him be the backup halfback, or excuse me, the number 2 halfback behind Alfred Morris. Have Smith come in on third downs. He's shown some flashes, but it kind of all came in garbage time against San Francisco. He'll also help out in a big way on special teams.
All right, let's take a look at one more guy here, and that, of course, is Darren McFadden. He has been a healthy scratch all season. Tom,
not what I expected.
He will be active this week, though.
I just don't know how much he's going to play. And I think he's going to be the third back right now. I think that McFadden is kind of more of the power runner. The Cowboys, even after adding Jonathan Cooper, they still run a lot of that wide zone, those stretch plays. That's Alfred Morris. So the Cowboys want to be that wide zone team. I think Alfred Morris will get the first work, but I do think you'll see at least some of McFadden. It just might not be until if and when Morris struggles.
All right, guys. Get in those reactions right now. Who should take over at running back for Ezekiel Elliott? Give us that heart for Alfred Morris, wow face for Darren McFadden, laughing face for Rod Smith, and the sad face, which is really what it's going to be, I think, is the committee. Here's one thing that we haven't talked about yet, Tom, and we'll talk about it more in our preview of this week's game against the Chiefs. How does this impact Dak Prescott?
Dak's got to do more now. He has to shoulder a bigger burden without Ezekiel Elliott. Now, he's shown some flashes of doing that. And if Dak Prescott thrives, the argument that, he's only good because the Cowboys' offensive line is great and he's got Zeke Elliott is no longer a thing. And I do think Dak's going to make plenty of plays. And we'll mention this later on. They still have to run the football. Dak is not a 45-time-a-game throw-out quarterback. He's not supposed to be that. That's not what the Cowboys want him to be. Very few quarterbacks actually are that type of quarterback. So the Cowboys have to still run the football.
So I see a lot of laughing and wow faces.
I see very few hearts.
Don't see very.
What a change we had, Brett, from last year.
I mean, if we look back to last year, everybody wanted Alfred Morris to be the starting running back over Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, so
how
many
the times
comments.
have changed. And so that's going to be life without Ezekiel Elliott for the next 6 weeks. We'll see. I think it really falls upon the shoulders of Dak Prescott and Des Bryant and that offensive line. And they've got to somehow get some support from that running back committee.
They have to.
We'll see how it is.